and I am certified professional behavioral analyst. And I'm also an advocate for professional women and helping them reach their full potential in their life.
So when you go out and give seminars, you talk to the different people?
I give workshops, I do one-on-one coaching, I do team building, and help them through goal achievements, work-life balance, and time management.
Mm-hmm. So when you talk to business professionals and women in general, you talk about setting boundaries, and that's what we're going to be talking a little bit about today, is setting boundaries. When you're setting boundaries at work, putting tape on the floor and saying, don't pass this, is not really what you really teach.
Exactly. Setting boundaries, I know people may think of it as being non-approachable, but that's not the case. Setting a boundary helps you. Say your boss comes up to you and you're leaving for vacation, right? And you want to, he wants you to take care of a project before you leave. Mm-hmm. Do you say to him, no, I'm not going to do that because I'm going on vacation? Do you say, I'll take care of it when I get back? Or do you say you're going to take it with you and try to work on it while you're gone?
Now, before you answer that,
yes,
what would you do, Holly?
I would get it over with before I left on vacation.
I would say if I have time, I'll get it done before I leave for vacation. After that, my time is my own. What's the correct answer?
Absolutely. Barry, I would say yours is the correct because you're setting the boundary and you're setting it up for the next time they ask. It may be that one time, but the next time it might be 2 tasks that they want you to do before you leave for your vacation. So always having a boundary area of what's comfortable for you and realizing that when you set your boundaries, the other person may be uncomfortable by what you're saying to them. But that's their own boundary issue that they have to deal with.
Do you find that people come back to you and say, I tried that with my boss, and then they became like, who do you think you're talking to kind of guy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And those are the steps that we work through to get through those processes. We figure out what the pros and cons are by setting those boundaries.
Wow. So it's when I was a boss, I was like, the onions on this person trying to tell me how to run my business. But at the same time, as an employee, you're expected to be treated with respect. And when you're off of work, you're supposed to be off of work.
You should be. You should have that self-care time. You need that downtime, and you only become a better employee with that downtime.
Is that something you teach too? Is that when you do leave work, how do you separate work from, all of a sudden jumping into, a lot of people have a busy, hectic home life.
Absolutely.
So how do you separate the two so you don't take one into the other?
Well, it's always good. Say you have a long commute from your job and you just put on some soft or meditation music to get you regrounded, or just you come into the house and the kids, everybody are coming at you all at once. Take a step back and just set your boundary that, okay, I'm home and I need a few minutes and I'm going to unwind. I'm going to get out of my suit or whatever work clothes I'm in and I'm going to get comfortable, and then I'll be able to sit with you and look over your homework or start dinner. So setting boundaries in all different parts of your life ultimately is the best self-care for you and then also the people around you.
Now, Holly, you work pretty much a set schedule now. I mean, occasionally they'll say, "Hey, can you work extra?" Or that's your choice what you do or if you don't. So that must be easier sometimes to know that you're going to come to the end of your shift and you're winding down. Mm-hmm. But when you were a bar manager before, there was no downtime.
No.
I mean,
I was a manager.
Yeah.
The restaurant and 20-room inn. So I was pretty much always working.
Yeah. And when you
Even
weren't,
when I was home.
See? And
Right.
you got burned out, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And that's
I used
what
to cry
happens.
every day on the way to work.
Right. And that's what happens is that we really have to push the envelope on setting that boundary. It's so important to have that in place because not only are you teaching yourself, but you're teaching the other people that you're dealing with that it's okay. It's okay. And once it starts happening and it all comes together, then they see what a benefit it is to have that boundary in place.
I mean, when I used to manage a restaurant, when I used to get there, I tried to get there about 20 minutes to half an hour early just so I could get myself used to work.
Yeah.
And then I would eat something so I didn't go into work hungry. But at the same time, people now start coming up to me going, hey, this, and this. And want to hear what happened? And I was like, no.
Right. So you don't have problems setting your boundaries,
I
Barry.
don't think I do.
And that's a good thing.
Sometimes they're a little strict, but I learned a long time ago that, if I was going to start working, I might as well get paid for it.
That's right.
So that's the way I looked at it. If you're going to come up to me with 1,000 questions and problems before I punch in, I might as well just punch in.
That's right.
And so, how do you reach those people? How do you give them the confidence? If someone comes up to you and says, "I just can't say no. I stay late all the time for nothing, or I'm always taking work home with me." How do you give people the confidence to stand up for themselves and say, this is my time now?
Well, what I do is when I'm working with my clients is that I sit there and I have different exercises we go through, like the pro and con list. Okay, if you have to work late, make a list of the pros to work late and the cons to work late. And then we work on it and dissect it down and work on a goal. And it's little steps at a time that we have to do. Because some people are super fearful of it, and but they know they can't take it or live the way that they're living any longer. So I kind of help them and guide them, enlighten them in showing them what life could really be when they have that boundary in place.
We're talking with Pam Drzwicki,
Yes.
life and business coach. If people have questions after this segment and they want to contact you, how can they do that?
Well, they could reach me at pam@powerful-purpose.com. That's my email address. Or they could go onto my website at www.powerful-purpose.com.
And do you find people, after you've reached out to them and you've taught a seminar, you've talked to people or talked to clients, that you get a lot of follow-up questions that you like something that may have surprised you didn't see coming?
Absolutely. Because every time we turn around, there's something new that comes in front of us. And even though they're all almost the same process to get through them, it's still visually hard to see it. So I'm very big on having people visualize what they want going forward, like doing vision boards or stuff like that. Those are the tools that I use to help them get to the next step.
Holly, doesn't this all sound a bit familiar? We were talking to Jen Minery, a health coach who's taking the summer off, and we decided there was something that she always kept coming up was journaling, writing things down. And then you look back and you're like, well, here's what's happening. Here's how I feel. And this seems like and here's how I'm reacting. So this seems like a lot of the same steps.
Absolutely. It is the same steps, because if we journal, like Jen had suggested, if we journal, it really helps us keep track of where we were and where we want to be going forward. And then we could go back and look at what did we do to make that situation better.
Have you tried any journaling, Holly?
No.
You never did?
No.
I did some, and I was like, wow. And then you realize what a quandary you end up in. And then you can't figure out how you got there, so you keep journaling, but the next thing you know, it's 1 a.m. and you didn't get any sleep. But
those are the boundaries you
And
have
you
to
got to make
set.
sure you write that down in your journal. It's 1 a.m. and I haven't gotten anything.
Exactly.
but I was so wound up.
Then you meditate.
I got myself so upset.
Yeah, exactly. And then do you teach, you brought up meditation, do you teach relaxation techniques even while you're at work? Is there a way to get these done?
Absolutely. There's some really great apps that you could put on your phone nowadays and just take like 3 minutes, right? And plug yourself in at lunchtime and just helps you re-ground yourself. That's part of my morning mantra, I would say, is meditation and reading and some spiritual reading. And I write inspirational nuggets every day. So that's where I take care of all that in the morning. But when you're feeling a little stressed or overwhelmed at work, get away from your desk. It's super important to just go out there, take a 5-minute walk, plug yourself in, listen to the meditation, and then come back and restart again.
Because I think, no, I'll never be able to work in an office. There's just no possible way I could sit at a desk for 8 hours a day and do that kind of work. I took a part-time job,
You
but
sort of
I kind of almost do now, but I'm able to look outside and interact with people too, and get up and walk around when I need to.
Mm-hmm.
You and Jenna said it, and you said it too. Sometimes getting up from your desk for 2 minutes could be the best thing you've done all day.
Right. It makes a big difference. Now, Holly, you said when you're at work, do you get a chance to walk away and have some time for yourself?
No.
Okay.
Sometimes. I mean, it depends. You know, if it's
She
not
works
busy.
in a service.
Industry.
Yeah,
So-
and so her time is never her own at all for the 8 hour or 6
Because
hours
there's always
or 7
something
hours
to
she's
do.
there.
Even if
Right.
it's not busy, there's always something that needs to get done. So.
Right.
But, you know, yeah, I mean, once in a while I can. I mean, you know, go look out the window for a couple minutes or
Right.
whatever.
Do you think that would help you through your day? If you had scheduled some of
No,
that
not
self-care
really.
time?
No,
You're good with that?
I'm good with that.
Excellent.
See, with me,
You know, after 30-something years, you know, you kind of figure it out and you know, you just do what you got to do.
Exactly.
And, you know, my shifts aren't that long, so, you know, there's always the light at the end of the tunnel, the
Right,
light at
you
the end of
see
the
that.
day. So, yeah. I mean,
Perfect.
I can get through it.
Pam,
It gets a little harder as you get older, but
yeah. But isn't that part of the focus why you take a job? When you talk to clients, you say there's a reason you want to work,
That's
and
right.
it's more than paying bills. You have to set something for yourself at the end. And it's
Absolutely.
more than a couple of bucks. What are some of the things that you lead people to try and set for themselves?
Well, I'm finding lately a lot of women that have been in the corporate world for 20, 25 years are totally ready to get out. And they're not quite sure why they're ready to get out. So we kind of go back to why they took that job and bring them back to that career and have them visualize where they were at that time and why they're feeling that right now. So it's a lot of visual work, and it's a lot of digging deep, some questions that might be a little uncomfortable for them, but totally brings them out of that comfort zone. And so I just help them through that process. And a lot of them are finding nowadays they have kids, they want to be more flexible, they want to be with their kids at home and do different things and become business owners. So I just help them through that process.
That's an interesting way to look at it too, because a woman comes out of college sometimes, and then she'll dive right into, you know, do you find that men and women have different goal sets when they take on a big job, like when they join a new corporation or a big corporation? Like to me personally, I think guys are like, I'm going to get rich, and I'm going to have the best vacations, and I'm going to have the best home. And then do women have different goal sets?
I think there are different goal sets at different times in their lives. When they first come out of school, I think they might be having the same goal set, you know, as a man would, that they just want the success and show that they could do it and ride that corporate ladder and everything. But I think what happens is then then they get married, and then they have kids. And now they're trying to juggle being the best wife, the best mom, and the best career woman. And that's when their goals start shifting, because their family becomes very important to them. That's the majority of women that I've been working with are finding that. While the man is still riding the ladder, so the woman could maybe make that transition in their lives.
You would hope anyway.
well, you
Yeah,
would hope so.
absolutely.
It doesn't always work out that way.
No, it doesn't. That's true.
And a lot of these women are single mothers,
That's right.
divorced or widowed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now it's even harder because you don't
Exactly.
have any help.
And that's when the boundaries and putting self-care in place is so important in those situations when they're single moms, to really, even if it's 15 minutes a day, to just give them that time. It's very important.
I know that sometimes you can even give up a little control and feel like, taking public transportation to work.
Right.
My wife did that, and that was her relaxation after work. When she was a paralegal, she didn't have to fight traffic all the way back to Bristol.
Mm-hmm.
From Hartford, she would get on the commuter bus and take it back to the commuter lot. And that was her time to just go, wow, need to decompress. I have to pick up my son and do the other things.
That's right.
And she said that really was a very relaxing time for her.
I have a client that does the same thing. She lives in Avon, and she takes the bus to Hartford. And she has 3 children, and she's a single mom, and that is her time. She plugs into a book or reads or meditates or whatever she needs to do to get decompressed, so she's ready, fresh to be mom when she gets home.
Mm-hmm.
So she's setting her boundary, even though she gave up the control of not having her car and driving herself.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the bus gave her so much more.
I think it did for Stacy too. Because,
I can see how it would. I mean,
yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you go from the rigors and stresses of work to
You're already stressed out. Why stress yourself out more in traffic?
and then come
Road
home
rage
right.
and stuff, and then come home to screaming children.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and going, I'm hungry now. What are we going to have for dinner?
Exactly.
And you just walked in the door, and their needs are immediate. I have to eat now, and you're like, wow.
Well, if there is a situation like that, like Pam was saying, you have to say, stop. I need 10 minutes. Go sit down. Be quiet. Let me go change my clothes. Let me brush my teeth. Let me have a drink of water.
Yep. Scotch,
And I'll be right
whatever
with
it
you.
takes.
I'll be
Exactly.
right with you.
But can you imagine what lesson they're learning by you doing that?
They're
and
learning
helping
that
them?
they can do the same thing.
Exactly. And that's all about being the parent and just reciprocating and trying to do stuff a little different to help them get through their life differently and be able to handle situations.
Do you feel that when you set boundaries, there's a ripple effect?
Absolutely. Absolutely a ripple effect. At first, especially with children, like making a bed in the morning. If you make beds in the morning, it may take you 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. But if you have your child make the bed, that gives you that 10 minutes, and it's teaching them responsibility. The biggest thing is not get upset by how they made the bed, right? And walk away from that and just give yourself that. Okay, I just received 10 minutes and I've taught them a lesson on responsibility of getting it done.
I find I see that a lot where parents don't teach that kid even that little tiny sense of responsibility, because that goes a long way into building their own self-confidence.
Absolutely, it does. It does. That's where it starts when they're younger.
Now,
Sadly, that doesn't happen often enough.
I see it all the time
Yeah.
when I'm out now. And we're talking with Pam Drzewicki. She's a life and business coach here on WAPJ Torrington, the Miscellaneous Morning Show. It's almost about 8:20 now. And we're talking about just setting boundaries. And, setting a boundary between you're not putting up a wall.
That's right.
That's what I'm trying to get at. You're not saying to your husband, don't talk to me right now. Or, don't even come in the room right now. Or, you know what I mean? You're setting that boundary, but it's not like a physical thing. It's more of you're taking a stand and putting out your own self-worth.
Right.
You?
Exactly. You're protecting yourself. Not that your husband, in certain situations is going, if you just sit, and I'm sure he has a routine that he would love to put into place too, right?
We all do, yeah.
So, I'm fortunate enough and I'm blessed that I have a wonderful husband that we work together with our boundaries. Mm-hmm. So, when I come home from work, because he works from home, he's already there. So we know that I'm going to get changed and I'm going to do all that stuff and then come back down and join the family. Yep. And then we do dinner and we do whatever, homework or whatever we need to do from there. And it is such a blessing to have that time, even if it's just 3 minutes to change, right? Or 5 minutes.
Yeah, without someone banging on the door going, when are we leaving? When are we going out? When are we doing that? And then you're just like, whoa.
Exactly. And then you're teaching patience. And that is
that's another huge lesson people need to learn.
Absolutely. Because we're such instant gratification society, right? So patience is really important. I'm still learning patience.
We all are. I have no patience to learn patience.
Exactly.
So all right, real quick, can you summarize some of the guidelines, especially while you're at work? If you're at work and you're getting deluged with phone calls and your boss is up your, and the coworkers are asking you questions and you have really no time to do your own job, you're doing everybody else's. What are some of the guidelines you need to put in place to start practicing setting boundaries?
Okay, well, I would say that when you first walk in, have your routine of you to start, either come in and if you have an office, close the door. Give yourself a couple minutes to regroup, turn your computer on, and figure things out. If you control your calendar, make sure you have some white space on your calendar, and that people aren't booking appointments after appointments on your calendar for you. Mm-hmm. Put that white space in, reserve it. and just say 15 minutes reserved, and it could be a private thing. If people are having a hard time and they're not doing their job, and they're expecting you to do their job, talk with them, as uncomfortable as it may be, but let them know how you feel about that. It's very important. Start with them first. Don't go above and go to your boss.
Mm-hmm.
Start with them and try to have a conversation about that. Also, I guess, start a walk club at work. That's another thing you could do. Just different things to give you some self-care time and some boundaries will help your day go quicker. And then the ripple effect will start, and other people are going to see the mood change, and hopefully that will allow the ripple effect to take place.
And I think you become more productive when you're able to set boundaries at work.
Absolutely.
Because stress doesn't do anybody any good at all.
On so many levels.
And if you can't think properly
Right.
when you're getting hit at 1,000 directions at the same time, how can you concentrate on what you're doing?
Exactly.
And now when you're home and your kids are now 5 and 6, and now you're trying to establish boundaries. It's harder now because they're in a routine already. They have learned a behavior to this point.
Right.
And now you're going to try and expect them to do something else. What are some of the best ways to go about setting boundaries at home?
Well, the first thing is consistency. But everybody has to be on the same plan, right? So keep on being consistent. Keep on bringing them back to the reason why you need that time. And then also allow them to set a boundary. I know they're your child, but let them set a boundary that is comfortable as a parent to give them. Okay, mom needs this time when she comes into work. When you come home from school, you need this time to either snack or play. That's your boundary that you have set for that time for you. So just keep on bringing it back. It may take some time to change the behavior as they get older, but just keep on bringing them back. That's what's really important.
I think so. And you said consistency.
Consistency.
That's got to be something that a lot of people need to work on too.
Absolutely.
And so many people when they're in work hate confrontation.
Absolutely.
And sometimes even just saying, I can't take your phone calls today, I can't cover your phone today, that's a confrontational situation to them. And it may not seem like it to me.
Right.
But it does to them. I mean, how do you go about giving them confidence? Just to show them that, how do you feel when you do set the boundary or something like that?
Well, that's what you do. You just explain to them that I can't pick up your calls today because of this. And try, if they can't understand that, then that's something they need to work through themselves. But just get them to try to see why you need that downtime and maybe reciprocate, with them. I understand. I need you to take my calls today. Well, on Tuesday, I'm free from 10 to 12. I'll take your calls, and you have some kind of reciprocation between the two.
Yeah, you're not just like going, you know what? I'm not helping anybody.
Exactly.
Because those aren't healthy boundaries either.
No. So being flexible is important, but protecting yourself is important too.
I like what you said earlier, and there's been something that's been coming up at our house quite a lot, and it's start at the beginning. Remind yourself why you're setting boundaries. Remind yourself why you're doing all these things. And it is starting at the beginning.
Just keep on bringing it back. And that's why the journaling helps too. Because it reminds you what you did that worked or didn't work. So you keep on bringing it back to the things that are working in your family.
Well, thank you, Pam, for coming in here and being part of this
Thank
here this morning.
you for having me.
Very informative.
I think it was.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
And you protect yourself and empower yourself at the same time.
Absolutely.
Pam, tell people how they can contact you and if they have questions about what we talked about today, because other people will have questions. How do I do this? Or why should I do this?
Absolutely. I could be reached at pam@powerful-purpose.com, and my website is www.powerful-purpose.com.
Thank you so much for
Very
coming
good.
in here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And we'll set up another time where we can talk again.
That's great.
And thanks again, Pam Drizwicki.
You got it.
There you go.
It's not our easy one.
No, it's not like pond.
Exactly.
It's Holly. Look at Holly over there. She had an easy Your last name must have been tough to pronounce when you were younger. People were coming up to you going, how do you say that?
I had a fun nickname.
Yeah, I would imagine you did.
Yeah.
You're listening to WAPJ Torrington. We'll be back in just a minute.